Hey, one person who is in the middle of a political campaign and should be in the middle of a political campaign is Catherine Templeton. She is on the phone with us. Before we go to Catherine, I want to say this, and I'm as serious as I can possibly be. I believe I know what's best for my kids. I believe I know because of the events and experiences that I've had in my own personal endeavors. And I try to extract that wisdom from my cranium into theirs so they'll not repeat some of the mistakes and problems I've had in my life. Well, I think I can speak to that in a very honest and accurate way to my kids about things you do and things you don't do, places to avoid. We were talking about a shooting. Well, I feel like I have that same skill as it relates to governor. I really feel like if you listen to me, I can articulate in an understandable and reasonable and practical way why this person would make a great governor. Now, I've been accused of being a homer for Catherine. Well, the reason is Catherine and I have developed a friendship, a relationship. I respect her candidacy. I respect her acumen, her intellect, her capacities. And I look at the candidates for governor. And Catherine is well aware of my loyalty to Yancey McGill. Yancey's a family friend that transcends politics. But I said last week with Dr. Thigpen, when I look at the role and responsibility of our governor, I believe primarily and foremost is its ability or their ability to be an ambassador for our state, to look CEOs from all over the world in the eyes and say in a very understandable and manageable way why you need to be in South Carolina, to deal with the legislature, because the governor in South Carolina really doesn't have the yank that other governors do. You've got to kind of work hand in hand with the legislature. And I've made no bones about it. And I'm being very, very sincere and honest here. We don't endorse candidates. We're not allowed to do that. That's per the ownership of the station. But I can say things like who I believe is an incredibly well-equipped candidate to lead this state. And I've said it from day one. I've not changed my mind. In fact, I feel more like that today than I ever have when I look at the candidates running in the Republican primary for governor of South Carolina. I believe there's one that sets herself apart. And I look at all the skill sets necessary, all the interest that needs to be in play. I think Catherine Templeton is exactly what South Carolina needs moving forward. That's not an endorsement, but that's something I want my listeners to seriously consider when they go to the poll tomorrow. Who do you believe is best equipped right now to lead this state in a very prosperous and beneficial future? I have decided beyond a shadow of a doubt that the lady on the phone is that person. And she's with us this morning. And Catherine, you can send me that $20.
I don't think I need to say anything. I think I need to get off.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You know better than that. You are, there's an old, and I'm going to get real country on you here for a second. There's an old Jerry Clower bit where you know, the guy climbs a tree, thinks it's a coon, but it's not a coon. And he says, you got to shoot in here. And the guy says, I can't shoot. I might hit you. And he says, just shoot in here amongst us. Somebody's got to have some relief. I've always felt about this time of a campaign is when you just got to have some relief, either vote for me or against me. How does it feel right now on the eve of your first campaign ever, that being seeking the Republican nominee as governor?
And the last time I'll ever do it. I'm in a dogfight. I really am in a dogfight. And, I mean, Ken, we got to win tomorrow because our choices are a 30-year politician, you know, who signed into law the biggest tax increase in modern history within a couple weeks of taking over, or a guy who's 30-something years old who wants to pay, he said, to acquire the governor's mansion. Well, buddy, it's not for sale, you know. So I'm really glad that I decided a year and a half ago to go from being a mom to running for governor, because if not, we'd be stuck with those two choices. And we can't, I'm not willing to let, like you said, my kids and my money be trusted with either of those guys for the next decade. It's just not going to work.
Catherine, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, from your perspective, the priorities. If Catherine Templeton is fortunate enough to be elected governor of South Carolina, I know you well enough to know you hit the ground running. What are some things that you think a governor needs to get done very early on in their tenure as governor? Well,
you know, growing up in South Carolina, we used to be able to afford a John boat and a week at the beach. and now South Carolinians can't afford groceries or the light bill. So we've got to have some relief. You know, we go to church on Sunday because our God and our wife told us to, and we go to dinner with our mama afterwards because our mama told us to, and we work 65, 75, 35 hours a week, whatever our boss tells us to, and we follow the rules, and we make money, and then the government takes a bunch of it and throws it around among themselves. You know, in South Carolina, we've got people sitting on the couch. It's easier to collect welfare than to take one of the 60,000 open jobs we have. We're not educating the kids who do want to work because we haven't brought shop class back. You know, my grandfather was a plumber, did real well by 5 kids, and I don't know when that started, when that wasn't honorable. I mean, it's a good living, and we've got to make sure our education system is not 50th in the nation, but that our education system is getting these kids ready to take our jobs, not these people from out of state or out of country coming in. We've got to make sure we protect our jobs from illegals. You know, I banned sanctuary cities when I worked for Governor Haley. I'm sure y'all have got the commercial on. I'm sure Henry's put the commercial on where he says, I am banning sanctuary cities, stopping money to go into Planned Parenthood. Don't fire the coach and put a rookie in. Well, Henry, I banned sanctuary cities already. When I was a health chief, I didn't send any money to Planned Parenthood. And our head coach went to the United Nations. And we don't want to put the rookie in. How about her offensive coordinator? And y'all can make jokes about that all day. Me being an offensive coordinator. But we've got to take care of our education and our kids. We've got to get these people on welfare off the couch. We've got to make them drug test. We've got to make them, you know, if they're able-bodied, go get a job. And we've got to fix our roads so we can get to all these places. And I'll say one last thing, which probably should be first. You ought to be able to go to Magnolia Mall and not worry about getting shot. And until we start lifting up, and I mean by money, and I mean by respect, and I mean by training our law enforcement officers, it's not going to change. I mean, the government of South Carolina has stopped paying and taking care of our teachers and our boots on the ground and our law enforcement officers because they're all up there self-dealing. And this doesn't require more money. It means we have to get the money that we're sending up there to go actually to the things we need, like safety.
Catherine, I said earlier, I can't imagine the voters of South Carolina, as independent-minded as they are, caring about who a former politician or a current politician endorses or not. But there are 2 prominent political figures in your primary. One is Donald Trump. One of your opponents has been endorsed by Donald Trump. He runs a lot of ads, and I guess that's smart politics. The other is Nikki Haley. If you don't mind, the Cliff Note version of your relationship with Donald Trump and with former Governor Nikki Haley.
Cliff Note is that Donald Trump called me to Trump Tower when he got elected and offered me a job, and his team called me a triple threat because I've rotated shifts, I've reformed government, and I've been in the private sector and actually earned a living. Governor Haley offered me not 1 but 2 jobs. And this race has gotten so dirty with all these false attacks and so noisy that even Governor Haley, who's not allowed legally to get involved, came in with a statement to back me up when one of my opponents was spreading false attacks. So if you trust Donald Trump to keep your promises, his promises, if you trusted Nikki Haley, then you know I'm the person you vote for. I'm the only one offered a job by them, and with Nikki not once but twice.
Catherine, last question. There is a sentiment of an outsiderism. That's not a word. That's a made-up word here in the PD, and we can get away with it, but because we abuse the Queen's language in such a major and profound way. But when you think about outsiderism, there is an appetite amongst the electorate for somebody who's not served in public office. It's a little bit the Trump phenomenon is what I would equate it to. From your perspective, what are the advantages of a political outsider? And in fairness, what is the disadvantage, or what are the disadvantages of an outsider? And are you an outsider or an insider?
The advantage of an outsider is that an outsider can actually go serve the people and make hard decisions, difficult decisions, the right decisions for the people of South Carolina. Because people who have run before, people who owe political favors, people who are using this as the next step to the next job, which is all of my opponents, are not serving you, they're serving themselves. It's a career path. I have never run before. I will never run again. I am not taking the paycheck because where I come from, when people need help, you show up and you help. And that's what I'm doing. I'm offering myself for service. But you don't want somebody who doesn't know where the bathrooms are at the State House. because the legislature in South Carolina is powerful, and they will spin that person around. And I think that one of these candidates is probably a good guy, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and you can't just buy the election and think you're going to automatically know what you're doing. And so I stood with Governor Haley for 4 years and fought the entrenched bureaucrats, fought the corrupt good old boys, fought the liberal Democrats. I can't unsee what I saw in Columbia, but I can fix it. So I am an outsider to this political corruption and this political self-dealing, but I'm an insider as far as understanding just enough to be dangerous to those snakes in the swamp.
I will get out of the way. This is not a question as much as a tee-up. I'll let you tell the voters of this area, our listening audience, how they can find out more. And tomorrow, just ask them for their support and vote.
Thank you, sir. Go to CatherineTempleton.com to see what I've actually done, not what I talk about, like all other politicians. And go to scvotes.org if you don't know where to vote. Every single solitary vote, I mean, this vote, this is going to come down to a couple hundred votes. So if you support me, please call 10 of your friends or send them an email and have them actually go vote tomorrow. scvotes.org will tell you where to go. And I just appreciate it.
Catherine, thank you very much. Good luck. We're a day away from you having relief one way or the other. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Have a good day. We'll take a break. We'll be back after the break. This is Good Morning PD on Live 95. Thanks to our good friends at Spirion.